So today I want to discuss a book you've probably never heard of, but I think it has some real potential to start some important conversation. It's called Don't Say That Name by Sandee Stone. What can I say? I really like this book. I found it by chance, actually, secondhand at a Goodwill. And I saw that and I thought, well, let's check this out. And I'm so happy I found it. It's about a Miss Stone who grows up in an Orthodox Jewish family. As she gets older, she leaves that lifestyle for some more wild living. And when she's in Las Vegas, she picks up a Gideon's Bible in her hotel room, reads it, and she makes a discovery. Jesus was Jewish. And it's all about that discovery process where suddenly a lot more things start making sense from earlier on in life. For example, why was there a lamb needed on Yom Kippur? When she reads that Jesus was the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, and that he was born in a manger, suddenly she says, oh, now I understand. I like the rest of the book too, which talks about her evolving walk with God. He becomes everything to her, her defender, her deliverer, her comforter, and in the end, even her real estate agent. Now, I think this book should be more popular and more discussed in Messianic Jewish circles, especially that first chapter, which talks about her coming to a saving knowledge of the Messiah. But the other passage I would really emphasize to us, and I think everyone should read it, is found on page 135 in a chapter called Acknowledging Him as Defender. And here we have Joshua's bar mitzvah, February 1992. So what's happening here is she wants her son to have a bar mitzvah, and her family, very naturally, is opposed to it because they say, you're not Jewish. And she retaliates and tells her brother, she says, you're not Jewish. You're an atheist. Why do you count as a Jew but not me? Why do you count as a Jew but not Joshua? And my question might be, why do any of them count as Jews? The term Jew is actually a very loaded term, and it can be very complicated, even though it might initially seem easy. What do you do with people who are religiously Jewish, but they don't have the culture? Or what do you do with people who have the bloodline, but are not religiously Jewish? And the same thing pertains to Messianic Judaism. What do you do with Miss Stone here, who she has the culture, she has the heritage, but she's married a Gentile, she goes to Sunday church. I don't see any references to her being a Messianic Jew, but she does have the culture and the bloodline. Does she count as a Messianic Jew? Would we bar mitzvah her son? And on the flip side, what do you do with, say, Bill over here, who he might keep the Torah, he might keep Shabbat, but he doesn't identify as a Jew because he doesn't have that bloodline? Would we say that he's a Messianic Jew? Or would we say that he's a God-fearer or a son of Abraham? What titles would we give people? I can imagine someone is saying, Quentin, can't we all just be children of God? To which I say, yes, absolutely. Please, let's not find our personal identity in being Jews, or Gentiles, or you fill in the blank. Our identity is found in the Messiah and the Messiah alone. And that can be an unpopular message for those of us who are trying to find identity in something beside the Messiah. And yet, as a movement, as a Messianic Jewish movement, we need to be able to define these terms if we're going to be able to grow as a movement, not to mention growing literary theory as Messianic Jews. And so we need to be able to define what is a Jew and what's a Messianic Jew. How do you define it? Would you have bar mitzvah Joshua? What would you say to Miss Stone? What makes a Jew a Jew? I'm not going to answer that question here. I just want to open up this can of worms, more or less, and open up the discussion. We have to be very sensitive because this is race and this is how people define themselves. But at the same time, we have to be well informed. And we have to be able to say, as a movement, this is what counts as a Messianic Jew, this is what we're after, this is what we're not. How do we interact with non-Jews? How do we interact with the Sunday church? These types of questions. So please, in the comments below, I'd like to hear your thoughts. How do you define a Messianic Jew?
הריני מקשר עצמי באדון ישוע המשיח הצדיק שהוא לחם החיים והאור האמיתי ממציא תשועת עולמים